All right, what's up, variants and TVA agents out there? This is a special Phantology episode where we are going to be breaking down recent happenings in the MCU, Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I guess I should say, Loki, and I guess it's kind of like a what's next? What can you expect in the next year or two of MCU? And to do this, I don't bring much to the table in terms of MCU expertise, so I'm going to be kind of the host. But we do have our expert, Doug, and I guess maybe you can push back if you don't think you're an expert, but I mean, in my opinion, you are. And Josh, who's definitely more versed in the MCU than I am. So I'm just going to sit back and let you guys talk and kind of jump in every now and then. But I guess where do we want to start this out? Like, what are you guys most excited for? What's kind of top of mind when I say MCU right now?
Well, do you want to go chronological or backwards, forwards? Like, we want to start with the most recent, or
I think we should start with. Well, we already covered WandaVision, so I think we should just go Falcon, Winter Soldier,
okay,
Loki, give our thoughts on Black Widow, and then go kind of what's next in Marvel.
Okay. And if you want to see our thoughts on WandaVision, that episode exists out there, so definitely check that out. So I guess let's start with Captain America, and the Winter Soldier.
And we should just preface this with we're just going full MCU spoilers. I don't really want to try and talk around spoilers this episode.
I don't know how we talk around spoilers.
I guess we won't spoil Black Widow until we get to the Black Widow section. So if you haven't seen Black Widow and you want to do hear our opinions on Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki, then we might even have to spoil a little bit of Black Widow when we talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because there's that. So maybe just beware of spoilers.
So I haven't seen Black Widow yet. I'm going to sacrifice myself.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steven.
Does that just kind of speak to how poor of an MCU fan I am if I'm willing to do that?
Well, probably, but it is Black Widow is a prequel, so there's not much to spoil outside of the actual movie itself. There's not much there's a post credit.
It's actually more like Falcon the Winter Soldier spoiled Black Widow.
Yes,
with the
spoiled the post credit scene.
Spoiled the post credit scene
because it was Black Widow was supposed to come out first.
Yeah,
and it didn't. So there was a bit of a spoiler.
The spoilers we have for Black Widow and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier section shouldn't affect your enjoyment of Black Widow. I'll just say.
Yeah, probably not. Well, there's one in there that might.
Okay, all right. So I guess just beware.
Let's
Don't
start off
for spoilers.
Let's go back after WandaVision. Captain America, Falcon, Winter Soldier, whatever you want to call it. Sounds like we're going to be throwing all those terms in interchangeably because it's a long title. But what did you guys think of this show?
Rid of the three, which was sad because honestly, when they announced all of the shows that were slated to come out, Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye were two of my ones I was looking for the most because of just grounded action, Earth-based. I like spy thrillers. I've always been a Tom Clancy guy too, and so I was really looking forward to it. But it turned out to be one of my least favorites, though it did have the most cinematic action of all three, and that was top notch. The episode 1 where he's flying through the canyon and they're doing that thing with Batroc the Leaper,
that blew me away.
Amazing. Yeah. That was proof that you can do the MCU on TV. That was really amazing to me. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. Which I think they needed to come. I think they needed to do. They needed to set that tone that these are going to be, must watch, and not even must watch in terms of the plot, but that they're going to be just as enjoyable and just as much production quality as you're used to with the MCU, which is important, I think, because while enjoyable, in my opinion, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not have that. And even the Netflix Marvel stuff, while definitely more polished than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it still wasn't a cinematic experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I think and when we get to it, remind me of that point, because when we get to Loki, there's a specific spot in Loki, I think it's episode 4, that really speaks to the quality of MCU. And I'm talking not what they necessarily did in the show, but the audience's reaction to a portion of that episode was really to the aesthetic and the high quality of production that were in these MCU shows. That started with that action scene in episode 1 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, saying that Falcon and Winter Soldier was my least favorite does not mean I did not like it. I still enjoyed it. Wouldn't you say it was still enjoyable?
Yeah, I mean it's weird because we're comparing. For me, I'm comparing these to the MCU movies. I'm not comparing them to TV shows. So like, it's a hard comparison to make because if I was comparing them to like something I would tune into on CBS, like it's not even a comparable thing, really, right? It's like a whole different, production quality, writing quality, like acting quality. You know what I mean? So it's a TV show, but I feel like we're just carving out this middle section of like, there's always been premium shows, but this is like next level premium show.
Oh no, Game of Thrones was pretty high quality.
Game of Thrones kind of started that trend.
Production quality, except for Starbucks cups.
but even it didn't really get that high quality until like the later seasons. Like season 1 was still, you can still tell it was a TV show.
Yeah,
they got big name actors, but you know, like it was still confined. Like they didn't have, the dragons looked okay. Like they looked good at the ending of season 1, but
well, and I think the one thing MCU had on Game of Thrones was it was already a successful brand. Like, so they already had the funding for it. Whereas Game of Thrones proved itself and needed to get that funding later on, like season 3, season 4.
Yeah.
But so what were my issues then with Falcon and Winter Soldier? So
exactly. So it sounds like you guys loved it. What's the problem?
So my issue was, and you kind of were touching on it by messing up the name, was because they changed the name at the end, right? Captain America and Winter Soldier. I felt like Marvel TV shows, with the exception of Loki, really did not stick landings. I don't think they stuck landings. And here's my major issue with it is I didn't like how they wrapped up the individual character arcs, the character narratives. I felt like so let's talk about Falcon first. So I felt like the whole show, Falcon's struggling to be accepted, right? And he's struggling. But if you go back to the first time he appeared in Captain America: Winter Soldier, and Nick Fury looks at him for support when Captain America wants to take down Shield, and Sam's response is, "Hey, I don't look at me. I do the same things he does, just slower." Right, and it's a nod to the beginning of that movie when he's running the same laps as Captain America. He's just not getting as many in, right? So it's a little joke back to that, but I think it's deeper than that. It's the point that Sam Wilson was already ideally in the same lane as Captain America, just without the super soldier serum, right? And I felt like forcing him in the end to become Captain America and take on a mantle that was somebody else's, as opposed to getting accepted as the Falcon and seeing that, the Falcon is an awesome dude. I think that was a problem. I think that was a backward step in his character arc. Likewise, when they changed the name, so I did not like the name change to Captain America. I felt like Wakanda should have given him an awesome freaking Falcon suit, and he should have busted out as like a bad A Falcon, and everyone be like, dude, is that Captain America? Because he's awesome. And it was like, no, bro, that's the Falcon. That would have been so much cooler.
The Black Falcon?
Yeah. Just the Falcon.
Just the Falcon.
And then on the flip side, with Bucky spent the whole series, all 8 episodes, I think there's 8 episodes in that series, every episode of that, he spent trying to redeem himself, trying to be called Bucky again, trying to get outside of the Winter Soldier, trying to prove that you can go to the deepest, darkest parts of your humanity and still come back with some semblance of who you were. And they wouldn't give that to him. They did not change Winter Soldier back to Bucky Barnes.
So would you have had it so that they just changed Bucky but leave Falcon the same, or just changed neither of them? Like, what's your ideal scenario on this?
I honestly, like, I get what they were trying to do with that graphic at the end, but I felt like I'm not necessarily talking about the graphic as much as the graphic itself, like whether they should have done the graphic or not, as much as what the graphic was representing of the story. Okay. Does that make sense? So like, the story should have ended with Falcon being the freaking awesome Falcon and everyone being like, dude, this guy, we had Captain America, but now we got the Falcon.
I like that. Yeah.
And then
I had never heard that part of it. I had just heard that people like were upset that the Winter Soldier didn't get his, like still was stuck with the Winter Soldier. Yeah. I never heard the flip side of that.
It's both of those. So like, it should, like, I'm on the fence about whether or not you can call him Captain America or whatever. I still wish he would have stayed the Falcon, because he still should have been able to be accepted for who he was, not taking on the mantle of somebody else who came before him. But and that the shield should have gone back to, he was right in the first episode. The shield should have been in a museum.
You think so? Okay.
It was Steve's.
All right.
And I think Falcon was right in the beginning.
We're gonna get some comments about this, Doug.
Oh, I know.
We're gonna get some comments. I like it. I like it though. This is a
So for those of us who watched the show a few months ago now and have forgotten a little bit, remind me the graphic that you're referring to.
So at the very end, they changed the Falcon in the graphic to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
I see.
At the very end.
Instead of throughout the most of the series, it is Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and then the series was called Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Do you think that, and I mean, tell me if this question is just off base, but do you think that he became Captain America, like it was almost kind of shoehorned in there because they really wanted to make it a conversation about race in America, and having a black man become Captain America meant a lot, and like that was a strong theme of the season, right? And it was a good one. But do you think that the narrative almost suffered because of it? Because now he's
they were
forced into that?
They had done it in the comics, and I think that they were trying to do it in the comics. I think they were trying to push that. And there are other voices like on YouTube and stuff that have talked about the same point I've been saying. They talk about it much better. But in that respect, it's almost a step down to say that there's only legitimacy to the title and the name and the hero that was the white guy before him, right? That's almost a backward step given the narrative that they were trying to say in the first place.
Well, I mean, just to push back on that a little bit, I think it is that the narrative of what they're trying to do was saying that a black man, an American, can represent America as much as like a white man can. I think that was like that was what you're supposed to get from it. And I think what you're saying there is, I think that you're making a good point that wasn't really communicated very well.
Well,
that wasn't really like narratively expressed as much as it was just like said aloud, like in that final speech.
My point is, why couldn't he have made that speech as the Falcon?
Right. I think that this is a good point.
Point.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that like
because the Falcon doesn't have the red, white, and blue shield. Is that why?
So, which was already like, which was already narratively, it was already, that shield was already said like, look, the shield isn't what makes Captain America, or what makes you a good person, because we just watched somebody get decapitated by the shield. You know what I mean? Like that shield, it seemed like earlier in the season was already said, no, this shield isn't what makes somebody great. It's not, like a symbol can only go so far. You need substance behind a symbol.
Well, and the whole point of Steve Rogers' character and the reason why he was chosen, if you go back to the first Captain America, was because he was a good man, right? That was the line that was made. Well, Sam Wilson is a good man. And he didn't have the super soldier serum. He already, like Sam Wilson already stood for what that was. And I kind of feel like, saying that like he is the Falcon, like the Falcon is awesome, and he didn't need to change anything about himself necessarily because he was already that level of a hero. He just didn't have the serum. And I think that was also part of the point with the shield being when the guy got the serum, he went crazy.
Right.
And Walker just went ballistic. And so you see what happens when someone who's not a good man has the serum and tries to hold that shield and all that stuff.
I don't think Walker is a bad man necessarily. I think he was,
he's one of my favorite characters. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think he was really, I think he was done really well in the fact that he might be broken. And so like when you try and put a broken man into like that level of, responsibility, then it just makes them break even further or whatever. Like, I think that,
I think he was a man. Really well. I think he was a man who was so I was actually thinking about the Walker character, and part of what made him break the way he broke, I think, is that unlike Steve Rogers, Walker was constantly looking for outside validation. He always wanted to be validated by somebody else. He wasn't strong in his own morals and standards like Steve Rogers or like Sam Wilson. And that was part of why he broke that. It's part of why he even broke down and took the serum in the first place. He was constantly looking to like measure up to somebody else or to get outside validation from his friends or superiors or from the public. Mm-hmm. And he was eating that part up. And I think that was part of his flaw.
I think it's also, I might be reading into this a little bit more, but he was loyal to like America itself, you know what I mean? Like, and I think it showed that through like the war, like through him being a vet and like devoting his life to like what America, like to America, like as a noun, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Versus the idea, the concept, which is what Steve Rogers was.
Yeah. Steve Rogers, like even when it came down to, like we saw in Civil War, like Steve Rogers was about defending the ideals that America stands for.
Yeah, and even when he has that conversation in Infinity War with the hologram of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, he's like, I'm not asking for permission and I'm not running or whatever he said. I can't remember the line now off the top of my head, but yeah, you know, you can kind of see that Captain America was okay with being considered a criminal by the institution because he knew that what he was doing was right.
Yeah.
And I think that Walker didn't have that grounding, that principled grounding. He was a little unprincipled.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to talk about with both of these shows and movies and I guess the future of the MCU is like, okay, so we saw it, and now where do we go from here? And it seems like all three shows, if you go back to WandaVision, have set up a lot of hooks that they can kind of jump off from. And I don't know, I'm sure that's purposeful, and maybe they're going to kind of see what sticks and what doesn't, but let's round up like the main exciting things. This is like at the end of a Stormlight Archive book when Sanderson has like several chapters of just setting up for the next book, right? Authors do this all the time. Same, I guess, here in the TV shows. So I have a few, and one, I mean, maybe we stick on the U.S. agent. So, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who I didn't really understand there. I know this is something from the comics because
Valentina Fontaine.
I did go back and watch like the making of on Disney Plus, so I guess I'm a little bit of a fan. But
I didn't do
what
that. Thanks, dude.
You should.
They're kind of cool. Yeah.
The behind the scenes is fun.
Yeah. But okay, so tell me about this pair. What can we expect? Are we going to see U.S. Agent into the future?
So yes, absolutely, 100%. You're going to see U.S. Agent. We'll get more into that. We should probably get more into this when we talk about another spot. Avoiding spoilers ahead of.
Yeah, we'll talk about this at the end.
But to stay on topic of leads that this gave, and I'm going to address one of the comments from the last time I was on. Somebody said I was wearing a tinfoil hat for suggesting Secret Invasion, I think it was. Just for whoever made that comment, Secret Invasion is an already pre-announced show that is coming out. It's already been announced.
Nice.
That's supposed to be
Samuel L. Jackson as the lead.
Nick Fury and the Skrulls. Yep. That's what they're called.
So no tinfoil hat, just going off of Marvel's releases. So, but Agent, stop laughing, you're making me laugh.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We did. Yeah. Good pushback on that.
Agent Carter, Sharon Carter, being a bad guy. There's a theory is floating around out there that her motivations that she stated from like being completely ignored after Civil War and like not being part of the club that got to come back and be forgiven after Endgame, that's a ruse and that she's one of the Secret Invasion plants. So that's a theory that's out there.
Now you're putting on the tinfoil hat.
Now that's a tinfoil hat. I will admit, commenter, that is a tinfoil hat. But it's a possibility. But she is definitely a lead to whatever's coming in the future. I'm not sure where she's going to come into play. I'm not sure if they announced a season 2 for Captain America and Winter Soldier, which is what they're calling now. But I don't think they have. So I don't know necessarily what she's leading into. If she'll make an appearance in the Hawkeye show, which is, again, a grounded show. That's the next one coming out. Or she'll be, like, showing up in She-Hulk with the whole legal stuff. If, like, somehow She-Hulk's going to get involved in that. but that is a lead. Wherever she's going, that is a lead. Like whether she's a secret invasion plant or if she is like who she is and her motivations are exactly what she says they are, then she's definitely a villain for the future. I just don't know where they're necessarily going to place her. Armor
I like
Wars,
it. I think
maybe, because that's all about stolen tech.
I think she's a great character.
Cool.
Good gray character. I liked the reveal. I thought before she was kind of a boring character, to be honest, and now she's a cool character.
But they were doing something. Now they're doing something with her, right?
She wasn't even a character before. She was like a.
She was a vehicle in order for Captain America to get his stuff back.
Yeah.
When she could have been so much more, because she again, like if she is who she says she is, her motivations are legit. Because she was completely ignored when the boys all got back together in Infinity War, she was completely ignored and she was left, flapping out in the wind, so to say, to be a criminal, and wasn't given that same forgiveness. So that's enough. That would be enough to tick me off too, and go the way and be like, okay, well, I'll just fight for myself then, which is what she's doing. Which I could see her coming back now that I mentioned it in Armor Wars, because that's going to have Don Cheadle in it. It's going to be the War Machine movie about Stark suit tech going everywhere, and she's definitely put herself in the arms as an arms dealer.
That'd be cool.
So speaking of gray characters that we have leads for, back to US Agent, we are going to, and again, a character sounds like you really liked, Doug, and I liked as well, and I think will be interesting because, like, is he bad? Is he? I feel like he could be capable of just about anything.
I think he's leading into the Thunderbolts. So I'm not sure if they've actually announced the Thunderbolts. I don't know if they have, but definitely looks like they're building.
They definitely are.
The Thunderbolts.
Is this another super team?
The Thunderbolts. It's like the Suicide Squad for Marvel.
Okay.
It's the bad guys that do good things with bad methods, right? So it's like the gray characters getting together, or sometimes straight up bad characters getting together and doing the gray area missions, right? So, and they're called the Thunderbolts because typically Thunderbolt Ross was putting them together, but now we have Valentina De Fontaine. I can never remember her full name. Val, as she wants to be called, kind of putting them together here. There's a possibility we'll see him in Hawkeye, and again, we can get back to why I think that when we get little into the later stuff we're going to talk about. But there's a possibility we'll see US Agent show up in Hawkeye. But yeah, so that they're definitely setting up something with these characters. And as of right now, we know of 2 that are definitely going to be on the team.
Which is Walker, and
we can't say that one yet. Yeah. We're not talking about it yet.
Okay. All right. Good catch. All right.
Okay. So I think that's good. Loki.
Yeah, I think we gotta move on to Loki.
Oh man, I just realized how long I spent on that.
Good stuff though.
Loki's amazing. Great show.
Okay. Right. So Doug loved Loki. Josh, your just kind of like overall opinion?
No, yeah, I loved it. I don't know if you followed like on Discord when we were talking about it, but I think it by far my favorite of the 3. I think I was giving it like a 9 out of 10. I think episodes ranged between like, I think the lowest I thought was like a 7.5, and up to like, I thought the finale and the penultimate episode were both like 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. So, and they stuck the landing.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed by Loki. I'm sorry to say. And maybe I just had maybe my opinions, or not opinions, maybe my expectations were too high, because I love the Loki character. Always been one of my favorites. I think he's hilarious. And
how are you let down if you love the Loki character? How are you let down by this?
Because I thought, I guess I just didn't enjoy the story that the show told as much. It just wasn't entertaining enough for me. I don't know. Maybe as we talk about it, I'll formulate more.
You're wrong, Steven.
Okay.
Your opinion is wrong.
No, Josh, I can have my opinion. Some things that I didn't like, as much. I didn't love the Sylvie character. I thought she was really kind of one-dimensional, and I didn't I never really enjoyed when she was on screen. I thought their chemistry was a little awkward. And the fact that he was like in love with himself was kind of weird and just like not addressed enough. So I like wasn't into the romance.
I feel like Owen Wilson's character really called out what a narcissist, what a king narcissistic move. You fell in love with yourself.
So I loved Owen Wilson. I thought he was like him and Loki were the best. Like their chemistry.
They had great chemistry.
Yeah,
they should have
great.
Really
that was great. Loved that. I thought the TVA stuff was interesting. And then the ending was good. I thought the middle kind of dragged, like the episode where they went to the other planet. And like I was just confused by that one. I thought it was just kind of like a big filler episode. So yeah, I liked
we were just talking about that, so we're laughing.
I liked a lot of the ideas. I liked some of the characters, some less, some more. I guess I don't know. Maybe my expectations are probably just way too high.
So let's address the popular opinion in the room, which is that episode on that one planet was filler. You want to take it? Or you want me to start?
You got it.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to start by saying I understand where people are coming from with that. But one, it had the greatest action scene of the whole series, and with the fight on the train and the running from the destruction. But all in all, I understand. I really like that episode. That episode was clearly had a purpose. Its purpose was to try and build that chemistry between the Sylvie character and Loki. I had this conversation, like it could have been better if you lowered the budget a little bit and maybe had a few more episodes to build up that, instead of, because they were kind of shoehorned into using that one episode to try and get Loki and Sylvie to really become allied. And they were kind of trapped by the constraints of having to do that in one episode, while
still making it interesting.
Because you still had to get from where Loki gets captured in Mongolia to the ending, with obviously at the end of time, in 6 episodes. And so you didn't really have the luxury of trying to build that relationship. So I do think that's where that kind of your complaints are sort of like the same. They're kind of connected in that they used that one episode, which I don't think was as bad as people are saying. It actually was kind of fun, I thought, to try and build that entire relationship, which is why also the chemistry between the relationship didn't really click, because they tried to do it entirely in one 45-minute episode. I think it was one of the longer episodes too.
Yeah, I think it was more like an hour. I'm also a sucker. What's the term for those episodes, Steven? Or Doug, you might know, like where they're still just like a self-contained episode.
No, that's not like filler episode.
No, but it's like
I don't know it. No, I don't know what you're thinking of.
You mean like there's an entire arc of a story in one episode rather than
like being a fly episode in Breaking Bad?
Is it all just called the Fly episode?
Like
that's
I think
pretty famous.
It's a shoebox. I don't know. I'll look this up. It's probably not worth looking up.
Okay, so the Josh episode, sure.
No,
But yeah, so while he's looking that up, anyway, yeah, so I really enjoyed Loki, and one of the things that's interesting is that, like, I feel like they stuck the landing, and it's the one, it's of the 3 shows, it's the one that did not end with like a major battle. There wasn't like some big action scene at the end where everybody was fighting, and like there's all, and yet it stuck the landing. I think that's a lot to say. I think a lot of that credit goes to the actor who played the one who remains. Right, because we all call him King, and he made a little nod to that, saying that he's been called by many names, Conqueror, but he wasn't King the Conqueror in that episode. He was the man who remains at the end of time, who's controlling everything. Spoilers, sorry, I should spoiler alerted all that.
We did at the beginning of the episode. If anybody gets mad at us for spoilers at this point,
so he wasn't King yet until later at the real end of the episode. But that actor, I can't. What's his name? Look that up. I can't remember the actor's name, but he killed it in his scene. He chewed that scenery. I really, really enjoyed what he was laying down.
Very memorable.
Jonathan Majors.
Yes, Jonathan
He's going to
Majors.
be King. He's going to be playing King.
Yeah, well, because that is a variant. He was
Yeah.
a variant of what is King the Conqueror, which is what we saw at the end with the big statue of him. He's clearly
so
becoming King the
Can
Conqueror.
we pause on this for people who, like myself, don't know who King the Conqueror is, but sounds very important?
So King the Conqueror has had, like he said in the Loki episode, has been known by many names. I think the first thing he conquered was he was Rama Tut, and he went to ancient Egypt. He goes through time. He's had lots of battles with the Fantastic Four, lots of battles with the Avengers. And maybe this is a good time to talk about my issue with Easter eggs.
But it's a bottle episode. Everybody, I'm not crazy. That's what the name of that type of episode is. Like when you take out all the other things that are going on and just pair like two characters in like a environment and let them like just kind of work stuff out. It's a bottle episode.
Yeah, and so another name King the Conqueror is known by is Franklin Richards, Reed Richards, I think, grandchild or child. So he at one point he becomes Iron Lad in one variant version of himself. He's Iron Lad, tries to be a good guy and ends up being a bad guy anyway. This was more of like the Immortus character of him, where he's just like immortally controlling time.
So how does he start? Is he just a mortal guy? Are there powers here?
He starts out almost like how he explains it, a scientist that discovers how to go through time, and kind of weaves his way through and discovers all the other versions of himself. And and at one point he has like a whole council of kings, and they all look the same. They're all like in a room together talking about stuff, and then they start fighting each other. The reason why I didn't really like deep dive into this to really pull out the facts and remember them is because Easter eggs in the MCU. So after our last episode, I was doing my normal rounds, reading articles and things and interviews, and the showrunner for WandaVision really there's an interview she had where she basically said that she didn't know who Mephisto was at all, and basically they get cards with loose backgrounds of the characters and their power sets and are told like, hey, we want these people in the show. And so then they go in the show. And so the MCU is kind of like a tornado running through Marvel Town. It's ripping off pieces from its original source material, but they don't really represent what they came from anymore. And they're kind of doing their own thing. I'm not necessarily saying that that's a terrible thing. I know there's lots of voices out there talking about Marvel saying how they're all upset because they're not doing the same exact thing that was done in the comics.
But do we want the same story just told in a different medium?
That's kind of where I'm at too. Is like, if you've already read the story, do you really want it again? And some people say, yeah, we want to see the stories that we loved as kids on the screen. I get that opinion too. But my point is that there's not really a reason to deep dive on these Easter eggs anymore, is what I'm saying. Like, because it's just like they put them in there as fun nods. Like Throg was in episode 5 with all the other, when they go to like the Loki hangout, the frog version of Thor was hopping around in the bottom there. You had the Quasar Tower, which was Franklin Richards' upstart tech company, which was a nod to King the Conqueror. He also had his flying sphinx when he was Rama Tut in the background of that. There's lots of little Easter eggs in that, nodding towards King the Conqueror.
So let me push back on this a little bit. I think that the level of Easter eggs you're talking about, I think that it's I agree with that. Like, I don't think we're going to get roadmaps for what exactly is going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm referring to.
But I think that
well.
I think that for maybe a fan like more on Steven's level or like my level, is the Easter eggs still give us like, oh, maybe I should brush up on who King the Conqueror is, so I can kind of know what to expect going forward. And maybe it's not going to happen exactly the way it did in the Marvel comics, but maybe I should go and be like, okay, maybe I should go figure out who this guy is, so that I can like kind of know what to expect from this character. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah, like, so is this guy going to become a Thanos level bad guy? Like, if that's the case, then I feel like I need to.
I don't know if they're going to make him Thanos level, or if he'll be like the Loki, like of the original one, like where Loki just kind of popped up. Everyone's kind of like a bad guy, but was kind of a Loki was kind of like what do you call like
an anti-hero?
Well,
he's kind of a frenemy by the end.
Well, what I mean is like he's like the lead off hitter to somebody else batting cleanup, if I can bring in a sports reference, or like Thanos is like your heavy hitter coming in, and like Loki was like your lead-in villain.
Or like
I don't know if
that Ronin guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of the same.
Yeah, sort of. Well, bigger than I think he'll be bigger than Ronin.
I think Ronin
for sure.
was just
Ronin was just for Guardians. I think he's more along the lines of like a Loki. Which villain they're trying to go for? I don't know if they're going for an interdimensional villain like Nightmare, or if they're going for a space villain again like Galactus. I'm not really sure which route they're going. I don't want to put on the tinfoil hat quite yet for the major villain. King is definitely the one we're looking at right now. Nightmare may be a self-contained villain for the Multiverse of Madness from the Doctor Strange sequel.
So is that what we should expect with Phase 4? Like, once again, we're kind of building up, a villain will get introduced, and then there'll be a big conflict. Everyone gets involved. Maybe there's like a new version of the Avengers, and kind of all our major heroes that have been popular over the years team up to defeat them. Like, should I expect a similar roadmap?
I don't know.
So what do you think? Do you think we're going like, because at the ending of Phase 1 was just Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that wasn't Thanos. So I think, are we saying ending of Phase 6 is going to be like the next big Thanos level, like
we know where King is going to pop up next already. At least we know that when he was announced, when Jonathan Majors, right? Yeah. Jonathan Majors was announced. He was actually announced as King the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. He was not announced for Loki first. He was announced for the Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel. So we know that he's going to be there, and he'll probably be their main villain.
I saw something that he wasn't even really going to be in this episode.
No, the final episode of Loki was supposed to be bigger, but production changed, and so they went to a much smaller, which I think actually benefited the series. And he ended up actually he was supposed to just be like a brief reveal at the end, and there's supposed to be a bigger fight between Loki and Sylvie or something like that. But like, I think it worked out well for the series in the end, because like I said, Jonathan Majors really knocked it out of the park.
Was that a COVID necessitated change?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was a COVID necessitated change. At least that's the most recent article I read that said it. That's what it was. They had to go to a smaller production.
But yeah, I think that helped the episode and the series more than anything, because I think if it would have just turned into a big CGI battle between, I read it was going to be between what's that clock lady's name from the TVA? That she was going
Miss
to, like,
Minutes.
Yeah, I thought I seriously I heard that Miss Minutes was going to like muster a lot of like, crazy obstacles for them to like and fight against.
Oh, that's right. You mean in like the final? Yeah. There was supposed to be some sort of like. I remember now. It was supposed to be Miss Minutes was supposed to like put Loki into this like self-contained like thinking, and we were supposed to see like there was a lot of stuff in the preview we didn't see in like the commercials leading up to the Loki series. Like King Loki holding Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, right? We didn't see that in the series, but that was all like Loki imagining when Miss Minutes was like, we could give you everything that you want. All of that was supposed to play out in the episode of Loki, just like imagining himself as like being the king of Asgard and all this other stuff. That was what it was supposed to be.
Instead, it was just kind of a little, build suspense moment.
And then Loki and Sylvie just like, no, screw you, we want to go on. Like,
how much surprise is there that there was a season 2? Because I thought this was going to be like the last time we saw Loki. He's getting older. Tom Hiddleston, right? That's his name?
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston.
He started from watching the behind the scenes. I know he started when he was 29. He's now 40. And you can tell that like the character looks older, so I don't know how much longer he wants to do it for.
I don't know, man. He was looking dang good in that first episode when he dropped down.
I mean, I'm not saying he's a great looking guy. Like I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's like the character has now kind of progressed to the point where it seemed like the typical thing for MCU to do would be to retire, pass the mantle on.
Yeah.
But now there's season 2.
But yeah, there's not a, unless they pull the Loki variant played by another person. There's not much to pass on about Loki, because Loki is like kind of like Thor. Is like, it's one of those characters that sort of doesn't have a mantle to pass. It's like you're either Loki or you're not Loki.
But aren't we passing Thor to Jane in the new?
Well, I don't know if we're passing that mantle, so to say.
Okay.
But like, we'll wait to see what they do with that. If it's like a alternate universe where she's worthy, she holds the hammer. I don't know if they're going to kill off Chris Hemsworth Thor or not.
That would be a big move if they did that.
That would be something they could do. Don't know if they're going to. I don't know if they're going to pass off the mantle, if they're just going to do, like, because in the comics, both of them exist. They're from separate universes. And I think they're doing Gore the God Killer arc for that movie, which is an interesting arc to do, which involves symbiotes, the symbiote planet, the Venom planet. So that's interesting how they're going to get around that. But anyway,
Venom's, they don't have the rights to Venom.
Yeah, Venom's Sony Spider-Man universe, Spider-Verse thing, which I don't know if they have the agreement. So we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, as far as like having a season 2, I'm excited for it. Clearly, there's more story to tell, and Multiverse of Madness will probably lead into whatever the sequel will be, or Quantum Mania might do it because of Kang the Conqueror.
I guess I'm also excited. Maybe I'll just lower my expectations a little bit, so I'm not disappointed. Maybe I was just missing like the laugh out loud moment with Loki, and I feel like there have been several of those in the movies. And Owen Wilson had the funnier parts, I think, in the actual show.
Owen Wilson definitely was the comic relief for sure.
But he's a comedian, you know, like that's what his purpose of the show is.
Loki is a really funny character, in my opinion. I always enjoy when he's on screen.
Yeah,
he had his moments.
I think he had
his moments, but his character is becoming way more melodramatic too.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess maybe I should have been more on board for the character story. You know, the self-acceptance type of story that they told.
He was the original Loki who had just lost to the Avengers, and then he was shown his whole life. He was shown his like all the horrible things that happened. He was shown in like 5 minutes. So he watched all the Marvel movies.
Yeah, that is one thing I think could have been done better. Is you kind of they expected the viewer to just assume that he got all the traits that we just saw him growing through. You know, like gaining for 10 years. They just kind of expected you to like, okay, yeah, he has those traits now because he saw. And that's how they did it.
Which honestly, one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves, and a lot of TV shows do this, where they try to show like security footage or something, and it's like the same angle that you've already watched in a movie. So like I made that joke about he watched all the Marvel movies, but if you go back to like they showed him the end of Avengers from his point of view with all the Avengers and like Hawkeye with the bow in his face and everything like that, just the same way we watched it. And I'm like, really? It
should have been from his, like that would have been cool if they had that same shot from like a first person.
I don't know, but see, like they showed like all sorts of, they showed him things that like he shouldn't have seen, but it was the exact same scene we had already watched. I don't know, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just one of my little pet peeves. I don't like it when like spy shows and stuff do that, when like there's someone like hovering over like a security footage and you see the same scene you just watched on the security camera from an angle a camera shouldn't get.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway,
it might be, I mean, maybe it's tough to assemble all those actors together for a single alternate point of view.
Come on, Steven. You have $100 million budget.
Or maybe you just don't show it. Like maybe you just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe you find out a different way to have the character
Photoshop, man.
Than watching all the movies.
Okay, so Black Widow. I haven't seen it yet, but I am willing to. I mean, I'm not too concerned about being spoiled. I'm gonna see it eventually, and I think I'll be okay. Is what I'm saying. So tell me,
all right, Steven.
Tell the listeners what were the important things from Black Widow, and did you guys like it or not?
Go for it.
I enjoyed 2/3 of it really well. I didn't like the forced action scene right at the very end. One thing I did enjoy was, again, I love spy thrillers, and I felt like it did a really, really good job of that up front. The first 2/3 of the movie did a really good job at that before it devolved into the same type of major Avengers team up action scene that you get. And I loved the action was visceral. I really
In the
liked
first part of the movie, the action.
yeah,
was
yeah. The first part of the movie, the action was visceral. It was very much like this is spy stuff. This is like when oh man, that part really got me when they tried to free the one widow after she broke her leg. She broke her leg on a fall, and they wanted to free her from the thing or whatever. And then you found out just how much control Dreykov had, and he basically killed it, like made her kill herself.
Well, I actually had stepped out during that part. You caught me up.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There's,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That was a good moment. That was, I say good moment as far as storytelling. It wasn't a good moment for the character, obviously, but it was a good moment for storytelling. And it very much put you in like, oh my gosh, the stakes are real. Because like the big question with a prequel about a character that you already know where that character is going to be, the hard thing is how do you get people to buy into the stakes?
Mm-hmm.
And showing how hard the journey is going to be by showing just how much power and control Dreykov had was a good way to do it. I feel like that was a big moment where we all bought into like, okay, so this thing has some stakes. And maybe not for Black Widow, for Natasha Romanoff, but the other widows certainly has some stakes. So you're alongside hoping that Black Widow survives. That's going to happen, but you're hoping that she's going to succeed in the journey because of everybody else that's in it. And I think that scene did a really good job.
I thought they handled that well. Yeah. So this movie is like a very rare movie where it literally starts really, really good. Like the whole extended opening sequence, they were kids, and they established like a really interesting family dynamic.
That was good
with Natasha and with what's her sister's name?
Florence Pugh.
Yeah,
I just think of the actor.
Yeah, with her sister and with the parents, and with like that was so well done. And then so that was like my favorite part.
Yelena Belova.
Yeah,
oh my gosh!
Yelena.
Like it's my brain's not working right now. It's been a long week.
And David Harbour and like everybody, like that was so good. Like best part of the movie. And then I enjoyed like the typical spy thriller kind of going through the motions of kind of assembling the team. And then I really enjoyed the dynamic between Yelena, Natasha, and the Red Guardian, and their fake.
Milena.
I really enjoyed specifically the chemistry between Natasha and Yelena was amazing.
Yes,
like that was also a great part of the movie. So, but anyway, so it started up here. It took like maybe a little step down, just because I think that there were some pacing issues throughout the like second act of the movie. I think that, but nothing major. Like it didn't really hurt that much. I thought that there were like some out of place jokes, like when they joked about like the when she was like, "Oh, I don't get my period," they like that could have been a somber moment, like a character building moment.
Oh yeah,
and then they just played it off as like a laugh. Like, oh yeah, they just reached up and tore it all away.
I think I think that could have been a much more somber moment. They tried to make it a somber moment in a different way in Age of Ultron, in a much worse movie. Yeah. But and that was kind of laughed at when they tried to make it just the way it was written. I don't think Joss Whedon wrote it as well.
Well, it's Joss. He always has issues.
Yeah, and I just think that like they didn't want to do that same thing again.
I can see that, but like I don't know. So they're minor issues, and then the third half. That's not how it works. The third part of the movie, like it's just kind of, I don't want to say ruined the whole movie because I still had a good time in the movie, but it just like it just kind of all fell apart. Like none of the, like they all went their separate ways. There wasn't that chemistry anymore. Like Melinda's like betrayal wasn't really like fed.
It fell into like it was obvious. It kind of fell into the Mission Impossible 2 trap, which is why I did not like them introducing the whole like face thing in Captain America Winter Soldier, because I saw that and I was like, oh, here we go. They're gonna use, that's such a cop out in spy thrillers is the face changer, the face changer, and it's like it's so obvious what you're doing, like, and that's really where it fell apart. After she takes off the face thing, that whole interaction between Natasha and Dreykov, it was kind of callback to how Natasha does interrogations to the first Avengers. How she always makes it look like she's the one being in the hot seat. she's the one in trouble, but then she gets you to spill all the beans because they think that they have all the
again,
power. And that was cool.
Well,
That was
maybe,
a cool part.
but it was just kind of like a typical like, oh, villain, oh, I have you now. I'm going to tell you my whole master plan.
Yeah.
Like that's like the oldest kind of, trope in the book.
But I think they did it a little bit better in this one.
I mean, I guess. But the other thing is the whole like, oh, how's she going to get out of this little conundrum she's in? Like there wasn't anything like, there was no payoff to it.
It ceased being a spy thriller at that point. It became like, let's just blow stuff up.
It was like, Stephen, for reference here, because you haven't seen it. So this guy can control all the Black Widows, like virtually mind control them.
Picked up on that.
As a fail safe, he has this pheromone that he excretes that prevents anybody that gets close to him from harming them. So even if somebody gets out of like their mind control and get close to him, they still can't kill him. Which they could snipe him, or like there's a whole set of issues where like it's not even that.
Yeah, that was kind of eye rolling.
But so you get like where so you get like to where she's like she pulls the gun on him,
which is also why he picks girls. By the way, that was the explanation why he picks girls for his soldiers, is because it's a pheromone that works biologically on the female.
So anyway, so she pulls the gun on him and then can't shoot him. And then Steve, any guesses for how she like solves this conundrum? Do you want to shoot a guess out without seeing the movie?
He shoots himself somehow.
No, that would have been like that would have been a cooler thing where she like convinces him to like that his life is meaningless, and
that would have been way cooler.
That would have been way cooler. She breaks her nose.
Too good.
She breaks her nose on the table. That's how she solves this. She slams her head.
She first tries to get him to like slap her around.
She first gets him.
She can't get the pheromone anymore. Yeah.
So she first tries to piss him off enough to like break her nose by like hitting her.
But she says he's too weak.
But he's like, "Oh, you're too weak," and then like slams her face into the table and breaks her nose.
Which I mean, he's an old guy. He probably was too weak.
Yeah, it's hard to break. Anyway,
it's hard to break a nose.
So like, the pheromone only works when you're like instantly taking
she's like, it. She's like, I severed the nerve, and then.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It was high roll.
That doesn't seem.
It was just like this whole scene, this whole like build up with a movie that had done a good job with building this villain up and building these characters up that had a lot of good chemistry. They all just went their separate ways and just kind of fell apart. Like, so I don't want to say I didn't hate the movie by any stretch. It's just like the whole ending, that whole last third of the movie, I was just like, what happened here? Like, you had a lot of good characters, you had a good villain, you had a good setup, and then it just all kind of like lost all tension for me.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, it turned into just a blow everything up.
Yeah,
was the solution. Where like your ending was way better. Like where she somehow like manipulates him and convinces him to hurt him to shoot himself. Like that would have been way cooler.
Yeah. Sign me up. I'll direct movies.
Well, and then it got even kind of worse from there, because then the reason that they couldn't find him is because he was floating in the space in the sky, which like satellites are still above that. But like then they blow up the space that's 40,000 feet in the air or whatever, like above radar. And then they all survive the fall because they're like kind of hitting debris on the way down.
Yeah. They got superpowers.
That debris is still falling at terminal velocity.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not sure how that
physics,
but still, I mean,
I'm thinking you're in an Age of Ultron situation too. They blew that thing up in the sky. It's got to come down. What's it going to fall on? You're in an Age of Ultron situation.
Well, it was just over a field magically.
Oh, okay. A field owned by nobody with no farms, nobody's hunting cabin. There's no consequences at all.
I don't know. I was just in South Dakota today, and there's just like,
but there's no environmental impact at all by snake falling out of the sky.
Anyway, but like they just like fall from the sky and have this like fight on the way down, like where they're all like punching each other, and then they just like pull a parachute like at the last second, and they're fine. It was just really weird.
A really serious Halo jump.
It was kind of weird. Anyway, it all kind of fell apart at that.
A last minute parachute pull with two full grown adults using it. So,
and they were both fine.
At the last minute.
They were both fine.
So her sister is going to be the next Black Widow, is what I'm guessing.
The post credit scene was Val, and so here's we're going to talk about the other Thunderbolts member.
Oh, so Elaine is back.
Val shows up and Yelena is at the grave site of Natasha and is doing the whistle that they used to do to each other. And Val shows up and says, "Would you like to get your hands on the guy responsible for her death?" And shows her a picture of Clint Barton, Hawkeye. and says, "Go after this guy." So for the first, I told him this was my prediction for the first 3 episodes. Yelena will be hunting Hawkeye and his protege, and then for the next 3, and then she'll like, I don't want to be used anymore. Tell me the truth or whatever. And then for the last 3 episodes, they won't be hunting each other anymore. There'll be some other villain.
But so I feel like that. I agree. Like I think that's exactly how that series is going to go. But I feel like that reveal of Val, like, would have been a better part of the movie had Winter Soldier not already come out and like shown you this character. And I think that it would have worked better. Like, I think the whole thing would have worked better. I know that like COVID kind of ruined all their plans for this, but like, I think that whole character, it would have made the ending of Black Widow better, because everybody like me that didn't really know who this person was would have gone out and Googled it and like found out, versus kind of just like being told who she was and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I didn't mind it that much then, but I think it would have been so much cooler had it happened.
I wonder if you only think that though, because I wonder if this is going to be one of the problems the MCU has going forward. If you only think that because it was TV to movie as opposed to movie to TV.
No, I think this was a much
harder. Like the character was introduced in the televition show and now jumped to the movies.
I don't think
it's going to be an issue.
I don't think it's. I think this felt like it was a purposeful, like not maybe not shock, but like kind of with Samuel L. Jackson at the ending of the very first Iron Man,
which is what I think this was supposed to be,
trying to be that, right?
Because this was supposed to be the first thing we saw.
So it was supposed to be like, okay, here's this other person that's going to be a connecting web, versus like in Falcon the Winter Soldier, it's just like, who's this? Why this lady is talking to Walker? Okay, now we know that, but it didn't. It felt like it would have been fine had we already been introduced her in an impactful way.
Yeah.
Versus, in that show just was like,
I wonder if Sharon Carter's pulling her strings too. I wonder if that's
or if she's pulling Sharon Carter's strings.
Yeah, I wonder if there's involvement there.
Yeah.
If they're trying to build a team, they're gonna need hardware, and they don't have Shield's money, so maybe I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Tinfoil hat on.
They need the power broker.
Yeah, the power broker.
See, I watch the shows. I know the names.
Power broker is working with the Thunderbolts, trying to build their team, Uncle gear and everything. Because where did Walker get that suit? Anyway.
Okay, so I'm going to watch Black Widow eventually. I promise. Let's kind of wrap here by talking about what's next for Marvel, and they've announced stuff through 2023 at least. If my
Googling, you want to pull the graphic up just
I'll pull this back.
So the next show is Hawkeye. I think the next movie is The Eternals in November. Or Shang-Chi.
What about the What If show?
Shang-Chi.
There's like some animated shows. Are you kind of skipping over the animated shows?
The animated there's the animated What If show. It's going to kind of be like an alternate universe Marvel characters. I don't know if that's not marketed as having any sort of play within the phase as far as like, it's just like a kind of like the comics. The comic What If series was like, the Watcher was like, this is what would have happened if this happened, and like kind of shows the reader. Like, I think one of the first What If comics I read was What If the Punisher killed Spider-Man. And so that was like one of the first What Ifs I read. And they're like bottle comics, comics.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and I think the show is going to be sort of the same way. So the next connecting tissue will be Hawkeye, and then you have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
It's showing Miss Marvel is on here before Hawkeye on this little graphic.
This graphic might be wrong because these dates are wrong. It's got the Black Widow date.
Yeah, Miss Marvel.
So I think it's all
Miss Marvel and
Hawkeye.
I don't think Miss Marvel's finished. I don't think Miss Marvel's wrapped filming yet. Hawkeye has.
So it does sound like COVID, like here again, COVID has kind of impacted things.
It impacted the order, and I haven't the order's changed like 3 or 4 times. No, the next movie is Shang-Chi, then you have the Eternals as far as the movies go. Then you have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You have Spider-Man 3 coming in December.
That's still December, right? That didn't get moved.
I think so. So I think it's going to go Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, Eternals, Doctor Strange. As far as the movies go, that's what we've got coming up. I'm interested in Shang-Chi. I'm really, really interested in Shang-Chi. I'm kind of hoping they don't skip over the Iron Man connection with the 10 Rings. I don't want that to be a big part of the movie because I want it to be Shang-Chi's story, but I don't want them to just ignore the fact that that was the organization that that kidnapped Tony Stark. I kind of just want to know the answers to why they even bothered to take Obadiah Stane's money to do it and why they did all that. I kind of want, or if it was just that in Afghanistan that did it, and if maybe the Mandarin didn't really care or want them to. But I kind of don't want them to gloss over that. I want it to be, it can be a one-off line for all I care. I just don't want them to gloss over it. So but I am excited to see what Shang-Chi's story is and where he's going to play into the more grounded heroes coming in the future. That's really interesting to me. Obviously, Spider-Man and Multiverse of Madness is going to have some serious Loki connections as far as the multiverse. There's all the rumors about all the other Spider-Man being in it.
Okay, guys, wait. How much of your how many points is going to be deducted from your overall rating of Spider-Man if there's not all the other?
I'm interested, but it's not like my enjoyment of the movie is not hinging on whether or not Tobey Maguire's crying face is going to be in it.
I like to think that that mine won't be either, but it's just so built up now that it's going to be so hard for me if they're not.
See, the thing is I didn't like the movies overall, but I liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
He did a good job.
I did like Andrew Garfield. I know it's unpopular opinion.
But it's already like confirmed that Jamie Foxx is reprising.
Yeah.
So
Jamie Foxx let that cat out of the bag.
Yeah. She's like, my career's not over, guys.
Jamie Foxx is a good actor, man.
He is, but
not in that movie, but that wasn't his fault.
Yeah, anyway.
How many points? I don't think I'm deducting points. I think I'm going to like Spider-Man probably no matter what. Yeah. I really liked Far From Home. That's probably one of my favorites.
I think they got a good cast. I think that trio works well together. So I'm with Steven. I don't think I'll deduct any points.
You guys want to know something weird? So this is a complete sidebar, but you guys see the YouTube shorts pop up when you're browsing through YouTube?
Yeah.
It's the only YouTube shorts that are recommended to me are stuff about Zendaya and Tom Holland dating. It's so weird. I think I clicked on one YouTube video about their it was when they did you see that they got caught kissing in a car a few weeks ago? So I think I watched a YouTube video about that and some other things or something. And now YouTube, literally, if you open up my YouTube app, all the shorts
victim of the algorithm over here, man.
I'm not that obsessed with it. I think it would be cool if they dated.
You got tabloided.
But it's just all my anyway, whatever. Sorry.
Didn't you say stop recommending me this type of stuff?
You count most videos, but I think shorts, they're just doing whatever the heck.
The shorts just come up
with TikTok. Yeah.
The shorts just come up.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming forward, and I'm not. But it sort of seems like they're going in there's going to be your space-based Guardians, right? And then there's going to be your Earth-based Captain America and Winter Soldier. There's going to be your Earth-based Hawkeye, maybe the Thunderbolts, whatever's going on with Sharon Carter, Secret Invasion, and then but then you've got your Eternals and Guardians, which are more space focused.
Is Eternals going to be good? I had so much hope for it, but I'm not.
We haven't seen much. I haven't seen enough to really get my hopes up for it down for it.
Anyway,
either way.
Okay.
But I don't know. Right now, most of it out there about the Eternals is just people complaining about their own speculations.
That's true.
The only things I've seen is that the trailer was a bomb. No one watched it, and people are complaining that the Eternals have not. I watched it as well. But people are complaining that the Eternals have been around for so long and they've never helped out until now. And they're like, where were you? And all these other times.
They hit their head on a rock and got amnesia. All of them.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know. That criticism always kind of bugs me. Because it's you either focus on that or you don't. You either focus on giving them an excuse why they weren't around, or you just kind of suspend your disbelief.
It's okay, we have a superhero movie. Something big is obviously happening. Why is every superhero not converging on the scene? Well, because we don't have the budget to put them all in the movie.
I think you can have I think there is legitimacy in that argument because of what they did in Endgame, trying to get everybody there. Obviously, we didn't know about the Eternals yet. but it might be something like where the Eternals like we just had like I think in the trailer they even said like we haven't interfered, and like people just have to be okay with that, like that was their choice not to interfere until somebody brought the fight to them in this movie.
And frankly, like, do you just not want there to be any more stories? Like you want them to be able to.
Almost that way.
I know, but that annoys me. Like, they've made good stuff. There's going to be some flops. There were flops in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Like, are we forgetting Dark World? You know what I mean? Like I think that we just
slog.
I think look, like I still am really enjoying the stuff Marvel is doing right now on Disney Plus. I didn't, like, we just kind of ranted about Black Widow, but it wasn't a terrible movie. It was
a Wendy's.
Yeah, it was a Wendy's. And
Steven has no idea. He's like, what?
Yeah, Wendy's. Yeah. I mean, Wendy's is like an okay fast food place.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. And so like, look, I don't know. My point is that I'm happy that they're still making movies. I'm happy that they're going full steam ahead with this. Like, I think that they're going to put out a lot of content that I enjoy, and I'm okay if that breaks some continuity things. And like, why weren't they there helping during Infinity War? That just is going to be what happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyway, there's my rant.
So as I look at this big schedule, good rant, Josh. I like the rant. As I look at this big schedule of upcoming things, it seems very ambitious to me what they are now maybe attempting to do. Because in the previous phases, it was like maybe fairly straightforward. They're setting up all these heroes, which, you know, the common layman in America has probably heard of before, just from being exposure to comics. They're taking all of our most popular heroes, they're sticking them together, they're saying, go fight this big bad guy. Like, it's a pretty straightforward story. But now we've like used up all those guys, mantles are passing on. We're getting into things that I've never heard of before outside of, you know, these new announcements. It's not clear. Like, there's so many different things now with the space and Earth and time, and there's all these different realms to possibly explore. So it's very ambitious. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I really hope they do. But like Josh said, like, there may be some flops, and I do have some faith that like they've planned this out and they know where things are going. So I'm excited to see it. But at the same time, I'm going to be like really blown away if it really lands, because this is a lot.
Yeah. And I think to your point, I think they are transitioning to a more fantasy realm that may lose the common man MCU fan, right? They're like going into multiverse things and more space, deeper into space stuff. They may, if they don't pull it off. I mean, obviously you can pull it off, right?
So I don't know.
People bought into it before.
The thing is, they've built up such good faith with doing such a good job with Infinity.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing that they're doing really well is making a lot of content accessible to everybody through Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, everybody that has Disney Plus is going to be watching these shows. We've seen that. You know, maybe they might miss a show here or there.
One of the biggest draws, yeah.
But they're going to be like, everybody that I know has a Disney Plus subscription. Really,
it's the reason why I have Disney Plus. Without this, I wouldn't. Without Marvel.
Star Wars,
and I guess Star Wars, yeah. But come on, there's been one Star Wars show of 2 seasons. Like, that's not quite enough to get me to sign up.
But they're coming out with a lot more, and Bad Batch.
Yeah, Bad Batch is good.
And if you have kids, like, it's a no-brainer that you're going to have Disney Plus.
Sure.
So I think that, you know, in terms of just households that have Disney Plus, like, they're feeding in free content basically to literally 100 million households, like, on a consistent basis.
So this is like the gateway. This is the marijuana of the drug world, of the Disney drug world.
But they might say, who cares if somebody misses Eternals? Like, they're still watching all of, you know, our Disney Plus stuff. They're going to come back and watch Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They're going to come back and, you know what I mean? Like they're not worried about, like, maybe getting a little bit more strange and missing out on some ticket sales because of it.
I wonder if they'll transition to doing more with Disney Plus than, because of Black Widow's performance and its big drop. And I'm not a big box office geek. I used to follow that more, obviously pre-COVID. But I mean, I was just reading how like it dropped 80% or something like that. The box office draw dropped 80% for Black Widow in its second week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's because of COVID being like everyone saw it once and we're good with it, or like.
But the other thing is,
Marvel usually draws more, even the bad ones.
Here's my theory, though, is now that, again, going back to Disney Plus, everybody's like, okay, well, I missed the first week buzz about it. Like, that's over now. Everybody's kind of on, like, no more YouTube videos are coming out over it. Like, all my friends have gone to see it in the theater, and for whatever reason, I didn't go see it with them. I'm just gonna wait for it to be free on Disney Plus, and I'll watch it then.
It'll eventually be free.
Because
Then.
You've described my situation right now.
Right. Okay. See, like a big MCU fan. I mean, not big, not like Doug big, but you've seen all the movies,
right?
And you're planning on watching all the future movies. So I would say classify you overall as a big fan, and you're like not too stressed about not seeing it yet because you're going to watch it in a few weeks or 6 weeks whenever it becomes free for you.
I mean, maybe we don't get into like a big business lecture, but is that a good thing for them to do?
Yeah, sure. Why not? You pay for it in 1 month of Disney Plus. You pay on your missed ticket sales in terms of the revenue that Marvel gets.
I mean, I would have Disney Plus regardless of if Black Widow came out or not. Okay.
Probably. I know, but they're putting out that level of content that is going to keep you subscribing to Disney Plus. And if 1 month, the reason for that is Black Widow.
And all of this is why I made that comment. Is like, I think they might end up doing more with Disney Plus than in the theaters.
Yeah.
As far as Marvel content goes in the future.
And obviously box office numbers don't include those who bought it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah. So I don't know what the numbers are for how many people purchased.
They probably don't report that. I mean, maybe in investor calls, but that wouldn't be publicly accessible information, I doubt.
Yeah, I don't know. I still, call me old school. I don't get it. I don't get purchasing a major movie like that on a, maybe it's because I have a smaller TV than most Americans, but I don't have surround sound in my house, but I like the theater experience still. I like I did during
COVID. I bought some of them, but I was split it with somebody. Like it was like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law came over and brought their kids, and they like Venmo's $10, and then
you have a much bigger TV than me though.
Well, yeah, but like it was like if you have 4 people that all want to watch it, and like 2 of them share your Disney account with you, and 2 of them are going to come over, then like $5 to watch it. Like okay.
Like I said, just call me old school. Now that theaters are back open most places, I like the spectacle. I like going out there. I like the theater experience. I liked Endgame and standing up when Cap picked up the hammer and cheering with everyone else. That was freaking awesome. Like I like the theater experience. I don't think I'll ever want to give that up, but I don't know. I may not have a choice here in the future.
All right. So to close out the episode, is there anything else the common Marvel fan that maybe have tuned into this episode needs to know going forward into Phase 4? We're still at the very inception of Phase 4.
Yeah, we're still at the very beginning. So far, all we've had
literally the first movie.
Well, Spider-Man, I guess technically Spider-Man Far From Home was the first movie of Phase 4.
No, I think that was still falling actually.
No, it was post.
What?
It was post.
I'm pretty sure because it dealt with the post Endgame stuff, so I'm pretty sure that they were counting. Like,
I think it's Phase 3.
No, Josh. I've always heard this is Phase 4.
And still we're not dealing with really post Thanos, because like Black Widow was a prequel. So going forward, I think you really just got to look at like the TV shows. I think the TV shows WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, now Captain America and Winter Soldier, did a good job dealing with like kind of the aftermath, as well as Spider-Man Far From Home.
For the record, CBR, when you Google is Far From Home Phase 3 or Phase 4, CBR is saying marking the end of Phase 3.
Marking the end of Phase 3.
I think it's the falling action for Phase 3.
CBR. I've never heard of CBR. It's probably wrong.
So, but like as far going forward, I mean, it's up in the air. Like I said, they've got 3 different areas that they're going to go in. They're going to go in the multiverse area, the space area, and the Earthbound area. And how they tie that all up I don't know how they're going to tie them all together for some big. Maybe they'll do individual team ups throughout the way. Maybe the Earthbound heroes will have Disney Plus TV series team ups, and the bigger spectacle ones will be like the intergalactic team ups and the interdimensional team ups.
We'll get some Defenders type of thing going on.
Yeah, but hopefully much better. No Iron Fist.
I really like Charlie Cox. I want him back.
He's coming back.
Is that confirmed for the next Spider-Man?
He will be in Spider-Man as not Daredevil, but as oh my gosh, it's been a long week. The alter ego of Daredevil, the lawyer, Matt Murdock.
Matt
Oh
Murdock.
my gosh.
So he's not going to be Daredevil. He's just going to be.
I don't.
Murdock?
Yeah. So right now it
Does
is
Netflix have the rights to Daredevil?
Right now he's it's kind of like what everyone's thinking. He'll be like Peter Parker's lawyer or something like that. But they're thinking that he might suit up as Daredevil and be Matt Murdock in She-Hulk, which is another Marvel lawyer.
Is that like after the Netflix rights expired to?
Netflix right because of COVID, Netflix rights actually already expired. They could put them in post production if they wanted.
Okay.
They could do some.
So maybe this is the origin story for Daredevil, and then he.
Or it could be the same one, just getting pulled in because the multiverse of madness is happening. You know.
Yeah.
Like the Spider-Man thing, I think will deal with multiverse stuff. The only reason I'm tinfoil hatting that is because the rumors of the other Spider-Man being in there, the confirmation that Jamie Foxx is being Electro in there. Is the only reason that I'm thinking Spider-Man is going to deal with multiverse.
Yeah,
stuff.
if they're pulling stuff in, I would hope that they pull, Daredevil in, who's such a big Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's such a big Spider-Man ally.
Yeah.
Like they were antagonistic at one point, but then they were allies for most.
And just they're so intertwined. I feel like their characters.
They operate in the same areas too. Like so, So I think Matt Murdock will be in there. I don't know if he'll be his origin story. It is Charlie Cox. As far as whether it be a new one or the same one just being pulled in. And I do know that there has been talks. I don't know how far along the talks are. There has been talks of Heroes for Hire, but they're going to which was Luke Cage and Iron Fist teaming up for like a sort of good guy mercenary place out of Hell's Kitchen. They had like a storefront.
But they kind of teased that the ending of.
Yeah, but I think they're recasting both the Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
I like Luke Cage.
Luke Cage was great.
Yeah,
the guy who played him was great too. But
Iron Fist is not.
No. They didn't spend enough time.
What's his name in
actual martial arts?
What's the character's name in Game of Thrones? Marjorie's brother, Renly. Renly was not good enough.
Dang, pulled that out, Steven. That was
Danny
awesome.
Rand. The problem they rushed. Okay, so I watched. I don't know if the plug for Corridor Crew, a YouTube channel. They're awesome. They do like special effects and CGI stuff, but they also have stuntmen on. And so they had the stunt coordinator on one of their episodes who did Iron Fist, and he had some interesting stuff to say. Where he was like, they basically normally when you have a big fight scene. That's what you shoot. It's just the fight. They would like do it. They would tell like the production crew was like, okay, you got 2 hours, get this done. And like they didn't train the actor who played Danny Rand. They didn't train him in any type of martial arts. Really, he just had basic like, okay, like the stunt coordinator said, this is what you do, and the stunt coordinator did it, and he tried to copy it.
Wow.
That was the biggest failing of it, was like really it's just he was not believable to be like the kung fu master they were trying to say he was.
Is that a Netflix budget thing, or did Marvel make that mistake?
Well, Marvel TV was separate from Marvel movies at that time when they made that. So Marvel TV was being run by a shady character of a guy who's no longer involved.
Jeff Loeb, is that it?
No, not Jeff Loeb. I can't remember his name now. Like I said, it's been a long week. But Kevin Feige and him did not get along, and Marvel TV was doing it. But since Disney Plus came on and they decided to do these shows, Kevin Feige said, look, if we're going to have these going movies to TV shows, I need complete creative control, and just usurped it all and kind of
working out better than it did before. Folded
Marvel TV into the Marvel movies. And so there was like some behind the scenes business stuff going on with that too.
Huh. Okay, right. So sounds like for the layman fan, trust Marvel. They have a lot of money behind them. Disney's a large corporation, and we've seen lots of successes before. We may have some flops, but they're doing some ambitious stuff that we've never seen before. So I think let's just enjoy the ride, right?
Flop. Yeah.
we're pretty certain. I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm pretty sure Eternals is probably going to be a flop.
I was so excited about Eternals. Like,
you don't think Jon Snow and what's his name?
Game of Thrones characters.
Yeah, I like the Game of Thrones characters.
They're playing Game of Thrones actors, aren't they? A lot of them.
The Game of Thrones actors have all pivoted. Gosh, what's his name? Oh yeah, Jon Snow and Robb Stark. You don't think Jon Snow and Robb have enough
And Jon Snow's playing. Well, I don't know. Jon Snow's playing another Black Cladded Knight. So we'll see.
He's been typecast.
Perhaps.
All right.
All right. That is a wrap. If you want to chat with us more, you can do that on Discord. Links will be in the episode description and on the video. And I don't know. Do you want to any like clever Marvel quips to send us out?
Excelsior.
Sounds
Stanley's. Honor Stanley.
All right. Thanks, Steven. Thanks for hosting us, bud.
All right. That's a wrap. See you guys.
All right. See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Phantology. If you'd like to let us know your opinions on all things sci-fi and fantasy, join our Discord. Invites are in the episode descriptions below. If you'd like to support the show, like these fine folks here, you can do that at patreon.com/phantology_books. Patrons get early access to new episodes, exclusive postings, and exclusive Discord benefits. But of course, just listening and watching and sharing with your friends and family is support enough. Journey before destination all.